Kscope 2015 in Florida.
So good morning. Welcome to the session. I appreciate you guys coming out after, the first, school night. How you doing, John? First school night of the conference. Monday evening, it's tough. I know I heard about South Beach last night. I heard about some parties and some 5Ks this morning. So I appreciate you guys taking the time this morning to come out and see us first thing. It is pretty early. We're here this morning to talk about a couple different topics. It's how healthy is your EPM system, okay? First off, I want to, qualify this. I came to a couple of presentations yesterday. Everyone's wearing like suits and fancy clothes. I'm like, this is Florida. It's a beach theme. So we decided to go into it as best we could, which is fun because normally we're on set of clients visiting you, most of you folks out in the field here. We're usually wearing the suits, ties, and pants. So this is nice for change for us. My name is Joe Malowicki. I'm here with Mike Fredericks, my co-presenter. And we'll kind of jump right in here. Presentations, when we finish here, we have little yellow sheets over here for the surveys. There's actually a typo. There should only be 5s on here, but there's a mistake for some reason. So just go ahead and skip 4 through 1, and 5s are fantastic, guys. All right. So kind of jumping right in. Well, the first thing before we get started here is I got to kind of get a sense of in the room who's been around Hyperion for quite some time. You'll get our backgrounds and bios in a minute. So we'll start out by a very, very important question. And we have little door prizes for the first person with the right answer. First question I want to ask you guys is, what was the original name of Oracle EPM, the company that produced Oracle EPM, or previously Hyperion? There we go. Oh, that was fast. That was really fast. You get your choice. You want a beach ball, frisbee, or a squishy thing? Ringer. That's okay. Here, a beach ball then. That's good. Yeah. There you go. All right, cool. So we'll keep throwing them out ahead, make sure you guys stay awake during the course of the presentation. We'll keep asking various questions, and if you get your apps out and Google Hyperion history, it'll help, okay? All right, so jumping right in here. Today's session, we have less than an hour because of our problems with technology. It's typical, it's Hyperion. So we're gonna run through a bunch of topics. I don't know how detailed we can get with all these topics, but all the information is in this presentation. We have our information up here afterward. You're welcome to reach out to us. We'll be happy to fill in blanks if we can't cover certain items. We're very casual, and we like questions and answers. So bust out, yell, ask, and we'll be happy to entertain all your questions as best we can. So today we're going to run through basically kind of double check and say, hey, you know what? My Hyperion EPM system, I want to get the oil checked. How's it running? What's going on with it? How healthy is my system, which is kind of the topic for our presentation today. We're going to discuss some things at a high level about, performance evaluation of your system, what you should look for, or more importantly, how to begin the process, okay? Talking about stability, keeping it tuned up, running as best you can, as cost-effectively as possible. And then talk about some future considerations for things like upgrades, EPM, architecture design, essentially taking your environment to the next level. Maybe you have a new acquisition coming. Or maybe you have, an extra 400 users, or maybe they're else and sell more software to you guys. How to expand your infrastructure to support that particular kind of environment. So jumping right in here to the content. Who are we? My name is Joe Malowicki. I started a company called IRC Solutions a few years back. I worked for Oracle prior to that. I'm here with Mike Fredericks, my co-presenter. A little about me, again, it's 18 plus years working with this technology. I was back actually right after it became Hyperion software from IMRS. Funny story, I actually worked in college as in summer job moving IMRS from across the street in Stanford. So, kind of interesting. I was there when we acquired S-Base. I was there when we built Planning 1.0 and Reports 1.0 and HFM 1.0. A lot of certifications, tons of implementations, and I think I'm a nice guy, so I put that up there. It's one of my bio traits. Michael?
My name is Mike Fredericks, similar to Joe. I started with Hyperion way back when it was microcontrol, so first graphical interface, when it became enterprise, work in support, Hyperion, Oracle, cloud services. My background is accounting, finance, similar to Joe, did consulting for Hyperion, Oracle, been to hundreds upon hundreds of clients, the Fortune 500 firms, but unlike Joe, I'm not going to tell you I'm a nice guy.
He's a little more honest than me.
I'm the honest guy.
You notice the pictures too, by the way? It's like he's going to a wedding or something like that. That was the last minute. Okay. So again, we're not reading our bio slides. Information in here about what our companies do and some of the industries we touch and support. Again, we're not here to sell ourselves. We're here to give information to you guys, okay? But it's there for your leisure. Now, why are you guys here? This is the first interactivity. We kind of want to know, what's your point? Was it just the title of the topic? Was it our names? Like, why are you guys here today? What do you want to get out of this presentation? Or more importantly, what kind of pain points and problems do you guys have with Hyperion or Oracle EPM? Anybody?
Okay, I guess my question, show of hands, are you guys more on the infrastructure side? Okay, how about from the application side? All right, so about 50-50 then. Okay.
A lot of overlap there too,
Yep.
which is interesting. Yeah. So some of the areas and reasons why we wanted to do this presentation was we hear this, I mean, I swear, almost every day in our lives, our jobs. Never enough speed. Hyperion's too slow, right? You know, every time we use this thing, it crashes. Or more importantly, it always crashes during a budget cycle or close at 4:45 p.m. on Friday afternoon, local time, okay? We're here because the third one's my big favorite. It's a black hole. What is Hyperion? What is EPM? Why is this thing so complicated, you know, to maintain, to run it, to keep it up and going? And why is there are so many little small nuances and things to watch out for as you grow, develop, and implement your software? The last one, too, is, I think, where the money's at. You know, hopefully you guys are here to make sure that when you go out and hire firms, whether it be the big, huge companies, the smaller guys, or Oracle, the vendor itself, are you getting what you paid for, right? You come in, implement the software, you know, all on the IT side now. You pay a lot of money. You buy a lot of hardware from a lot of different companies. You put it in place. How do you know it's actually running as it's supposed to run, okay? So these are some of the areas and topics that we're hoping we'll address today. Now, who's the ideal audience? You guys hit it in the head just now. It's mixed. It's IT and finance. It's not just IT. The application owners and business owners actually probably are more invested in Hyperion infrastructure than the actual IT group is, because IT group, it's maybe 10% of their jobs, give or take. If it was flip-flopped, then everybody and their uncle, including us, wouldn't do managed services, right? Managed services is only there because I don't want to pay for somebody else on my IT staff for 10% of their job at a full-time plus headcount to maintain Hyperion infrastructure. All right, so kind of jumping right in here. Getting your system oil checked for Hyperion. So there's some things you guys can do which are very, very, very cost effective, almost minimal cost at all, if at all, to make sure your Hyperion infrastructure is running as optimally as it can, okay, on a regular basis. The first thing we do, and I'm kind of talking through history here, is the idea of a regularly scheduled health check. Could be a weekly health check, a monthly in my mind is too far, but basically do a check of your system. Look for some key things in the Hyperion infrastructure side that you can, out of the box, without paying anybody any money whatsoever. I'm not a sales guy, as you can tell, I'm an engineer, which you can help to maintain your system. One of these things is this thing called the EPM Diagnostic Utility. It's built in. It's been there since the version 11.120, which is about 5-ish, give or take, a year or so now. And what the EPM Diagnostic Utility does for you, it does a quick scan of your system. Now, there are some caveats. You have to actually run this on one of the servers itself. So this might be something which you have to say to your IT folks if you have access to it. Hey, run this thing once a week for me. Give me the report, give me the output for it, okay? It's not the surefire, everything's fantastic, but it helps you to begin catching problems proactively with your system. We will toggle back and forth and demo some of these things as well at one shot. We'll talk through them first, and I'll pop over to a VM. I have my machine here, and we'll test them out, okay? Oh, one thing, I talk fast. I'm from the Northeast, not from down south. So if you miss something, say what? I'll stop myself, repeat myself. Don't feel shy. You're not going to offend me, I promise you. Okay? So performing regular health checks of your system and using tools like the EPM Diagnostic Utility will help you to get a good sense of, is my environment up or down? Okay? Is something I should watch out for on a regular basis? You know, everyone says, sure, you know, services are started, fantastic. What does that mean to me? Right? I can launch a service and have the application still not run. For the regular scheduled health checks, one of the things that I also recommend you guys take into consideration, and we do this for a lot of our own customers, is put together some sort of validation checklist yourself. This can be done on the business side. So if you're not IT, or if you have no, thank you, if you have no access to your system, a little lower if you don't mind, down to the checkboxes and you start a little lower. Perfect, great. Put together something which on a regular basis can be tested by maybe your key business administrator or business owners or by key IT staff who don't have a clue about what Hyperion is, and honestly, they should not have to, okay? List out there some common sense things like, can I stop and start services properly? Well, I can stop them, sure, and I can start them, sure, but do they actually work after I start them? So you want to go through, and this is not rocket science, it's common sense. Make sure everything you do on a regular basis with your system, somebody can run through in a 10, 15-minute process, maybe an hour if it takes that, once a week if you can, and run through these things. You know, can I get to WebLogic? Can I get to OHS? Can I get to the workspace page? Can I log in with an MSAD account? Small, silly things like that have done on a regular basis, like a weekly scheduled health check of your system, you'll alleviate probably half, if not more, of your problems. Because when you come into your close cycle Monday morning, after the weekend maintenance that was scheduled last minute unannounced, okay, before the close cycle, everything you know is tested and validated because, you know, Joe or Harry went in there and actually tested this out manually through a script. Can this be automated? Sure. And there are phenomenal tools. A lot of people at this expo actually have tools that can do a lot of this for you. And they're not bad investments. But we start with the basics here, right? Prove to me I should spend more money than I have to initially. If I can do this with 1 hour on a Monday morning at 8 a.m. or Sunday afternoon after we can restart, I can save a lot of my headaches for the course of the business week.
Another benefit is, I'm sure like many of you or all of you at one point or another have had to call Oracle support, place a case, and then when you get the tech on the phone or the email, you're playing 101 questions and you're getting nowhere. So what you can do in the case is you can kind of go through that checklist and at least list out some of the items. Okay, yes, IIS is running, WebLogic is running, Foundation Services comes up. Here's all my logs, so you don't have to spend 2 weeks going back and forth with all the questions and answers with them.
You're still in my thunder. You're still in my log thunder. That's okay though. It's good. Okay.
It's a prelude.
It's a prelude. That's fantastic. Yes, question. You know, not particularly a single isolated kind of an area. Our realm's infrastructure, right? And a lot of our experiences, my personal, I'm sure you've seen for me too, is it's define that line. Where do we put the line in the sand? Where is it an application versus, you know, an IT problem? That seems to be the theme. The underlying Hyperion planning, HFM, S-Space, so on, so on, so on, there's so many parts and pieces to it. I'm not sure if you guys are aware or not, but Hyperion itself is the suite of EPM software. It's actually 17 different development teams were involved. You can now understand why it seems so overly complex. Everyone had their hands in there. There was a ton of, you know, cooks in the kitchen. So there's not a single, unfortunately, I couldn't say here's the usual problem with the system. Memory tends to be the biggest thing in the last 2 or 3 years. It's lack of server resources. People want to undersize. Yes, both. Yep, people don't realize it's not 11113, where 8 GB is plenty more. Question?
It seems that I would say 90% of our problems, Hyperion is stable. It's downstream services that fails. So either AD is having a problem, DNS is having a problem,
yeah.
Network's having a problem, the database went offline.
Database, never happens. What do you mean?
No.
Come on, yeah, never.
And that's the hard part with troubleshooting because there's so many pieces. Like you asked, you know, have you seen a pattern? And, you know, every client, it's different. And, you know, Joe will probably tell you the same thing. Over my 20 years, yes, you tend to see a lot in some of the same issues, but every issue tends to be different. It could be, you know, some services aren't starting up. Why? Did they change the password? Like I said, the database logs have filled up, but you don't know that. There's no specific error message that says, well, your SQL Server Oracle database log is now full. Your service won't start up. So you got to spend all that time troubleshooting. So that's kind of the problem with Hyperion. Like Joe said, there's so many moving pieces. WebLogic, SQL, it's not, while it's integrated, it's still separate. And to try to understand which piece is broken, that's where the problems occur.
And that's a very good point. Yeah, so go ahead, John.
It's hard for you guys to isolate infrastructure issues when you're dealing with an environment where people haven't either done the JavaScript tuning or application-specific tuning that's not part of the infrastructure.
Absolutely, because it goes back to that whole draw the line in the sand. It's easy to call up and say, hey, listen, Joe, I got a problem. You know, Hyperion's down right now. Okay, here we go. And we'll discuss troubleshooting methodology. We might not get into detail about it. We have a whole couple slides about the common sense steps we go through in every issue. But it is tricky because we have to find out, well, what changed in the application side? You know, was there something dramatically different? Did you bring on 100 more users? Did you bring on 4 more, you know, FM applications or 10 more cubes? You know, so it is difficult. Or did you, like I said, did you do some funky calc scripts and all of a sudden, well, my Essbase app hangs. I'm not sure why I'm getting these XCP files and crashes and dumps constantly. So it is a challenge. But if you do go through some of these common sense things, and again, it's all about elimination of factors here. People call it CYA, hope I'm recorded here, but it is in the end. Is it my fault or something else that has to happen in the system to keep it up and going, right? So if I can rule out the fact that services are up, great, but are they also responsive? You know, that little validation checklist. And by the way, anything we show you, we can give you guys. There's no secret sauce. I don't care who you are in Hyperion world, everything's been said, done, talked about, and displayed. It's a matter of how it's put together and utilized. So these templates, documents, all these little cheat sheets we have, you guys are more than welcome to have these things too, okay? We'll give them to you. But yeah, to your point, John, it is tricky to understand that just something changing the application side. I have no clue that 10 more entities were brought on board, okay? And that's causing a problem for us. My aggregation's too long now. While we're talking, I'm running this thing called this Diagnostic Utility. In the background, again, it's under VML laptops, and intentionally some things are down, so you'll see some different colors here. But we'll keep talking, and we'll go back and show you this. And this is one of these easy steps you can go through to start eliminating some of the key factors when you're supporting your Hyperion infrastructure.
Just to build on what Joe said real quick, like you mentioned, and I don't know if you do or not, I always recommend to clients, keep like a change request log. A lot of clients tend to have the audit controls, a lot of them don't. But if you keep a log, especially with the application changes on what you're doing, it helps with the troubleshooting. You know, I can tell you numerous times I've worked, say, with S-based clients. We're having problems, you know, we're restructuring our outline, and this top script is taking, 12 hours when it used to take 12 minutes. And you go back and you ask them what changes they made, most of the time it's nothing, but when you dig into it, they added more members to an outline, they made changes in a calc script. So then you can get to the root of the problem because it's already been documented what was changed. You reverse it, and a lot of times that's an easy way to fix it.
Yep, very key. So to the Diagnostic Utilities point, it's a little tool called Validate. And by the way, any of these utilities, what's nice about these newer versions of the EPM system here are that these utilities, if it's a validate.bat for the Windows world, there's a validate.sh for the Unix Linux world, okay? Actually, the code base is basically the same for all platforms. They change how it's compiled and how it's run. So we're going to show you the Windows items just because it's on this VM, but if you want to run on a Linux or Unix, the exact same tools exist, okay? So you see right here, I have a VM up right now, and I have workspace and a logon page. And I think, great, I can get this page, life is good with my system. If I'm IT, with no experience in Hyperion whatsoever, I look at my Windows services and I see the fact that my service called Foundation Services 0, not a clue what that means because I'm not a Hyperion person, I'm simply a Windows administrator. And I see that, hey, Hyperion Foundation Services is actually up and running, okay? I can get the logon page. But is everything working fine with my system? Well, I could probably even log in and not get errors because I'm IT, right? If my validation checklist, my little check off each week for my health check, doesn't include detailed information, maybe going in, opening a report, or opening HFM, or taking a look at some generic sample application to verify functionality of the applications is there, I'm going to assume everything's fine. If I used this little built-in utility for diagnostics and ran it, I would find a whole bunch of red on my infrastructure right now. Now, this diagnostics utility, what's pretty cool about it is if you run this in a Windows entirely infrastructure, right, it's going to, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. This utility actually scans all the software on this particular box for these instances and does a series of checks. It does things like database connectivity checks. So back to your point, sir, about DB being down. It's checking to make sure my shared service database is available, okay? It's checking things like particular URLs. Is my MSAD provider up, running, and accessible? Can I get to it, okay? And what's neat is it tells you things about, I'm gonna test now all the underlying configured products. Can I get to not so much the service, but the actual product itself, okay? So is this surefire, 100% rock solid, you're up and going? No, but it's a great place to start, and it's a very easy snapshot, take a fast look and see, okay? What I like about this report is the fact that it actually includes time for tests. So you guys may have had an issue where you go to log in a workspace, never happened to you guys, and slow logging in, never happens, right? It goes fast. run this test, you might find out that maybe MSAD is taking 2 minutes timeout because somebody reconfigured your shared services configuration to port to an MSAD server that was maybe up in Canada. You know, it happens. Okay. Yep. Okay. So along with the, there we go. Along with the diagnostics report, there's a whole bunch of other tools, and we're going to skip over demo on a couple of them right now. Information's here, but there are built-in tools like the registry report component, which you can run before and afters, before you upgrade, before you migrate, before you patch, to get a comparison shot of what your actual environment looks like. Oh, by the way, this presentation I usually do over a 3-day period, so I'm doing it 1 hour today. Okay, so I'm talking very fast. Actually, fast trivia question, because you guys are dozing off here. So a new installation of 11.1.2.4, or 3, or 2. How many logs do you guys think, and this is a multiple choice, with the first hand that goes up, okay, do you think are laid down, brand new out-of-the-box installation? First hand up gets to ask. I'll ask you. Anybody? Raise your hand, anybody. There you go. Is it A, 50 to 100, B, 100 to 200, or C, 500 plus? How many, the entire EPM suite? What's that, 17 products? C, not out of the box, it's actually B. There's 180, give or take, logs laid down for an installation never turned on or used. Okay, so do you want a Frisbee, a ball, or a beach ball? Frisbee, color preference?
Don't throw it.
Orange, pink, white? I won't throw it, I promise. Unless you guys want to lose your heads there. There you go, how good are you? Here you go, do you want to pass it down? Thanks. Hey, I'm from Connecticut, he's from Florida. I can't throw Frisbees, okay? All right. So, all right. Moving along here. We'll skip a couple of these things. We can actually loop back afterward and take a look at some things.
I want to try to keep more time for Q&A.
Yes, absolutely. And by the way, guys, ask the questions. It's about. If we run over the PowerPoints you guys have, we can sit and talk all day, every day if you want with this stuff, so feel free. System log is quick. Oh, wait, one thing. I do want to show you this one. There's one utility which people don't realize is out there. It's called the Epm Topology Report. Okay? This has been around for a couple of versions now. This one in particular, I will just run it and show you guys. What this utility is fantastic for, and again, these are out of the box. I didn't write these. You're not paying me to actually use these things. They're built in with your system. This utility will actually allow you to take and dump out to, I don't want to say it's a easy to read file. Oops. A history of your EPM infrastructure, okay? And you can take it and you can save it. And you can do befores and afters. So, you know, you're upgrading your system, run this first, look at it. When we go to customers, we do tech reviews. One of the things that we do a lot is we'll go in first thing and before we get on site, run this for me, give me the output report. I want to see it. I can get now a sense of how it's put together without seeing the servers. I can see what's out there for software. More importantly, I can see what might be broken before we can get there. Right? If a customer says, I can't run the report, it's not working, it's a good indicator, something's wrong to begin with. Or they run the report and say, I got 3 servers in my environment, so what's going to cost you to come in there and patch it up for me? You know, a week, whatever, 40 hours, give or take. I run the report and find there's 14 servers, okay? So this report, again, it's built into the system. It creates a fast little HTML page for you. Oops. Sorry, what did I do here? Oh, sorry, it's not preview. I have a typo in there. See, I was talking too much. Okay. All right, guess we're gonna go back into the smoke and mirrors, talk to me to Michael while I pull this up here. There we go. By the way, like the logging mechanisms now, how buried they are in the system here? Okay, here we go. This is a report. It basically shows you, it breaks out what's in your infrastructure based upon service, VIPs names, the key ports things are running on. It's what the EPM system thinks it has. Depending upon the infrastructure, it'll again span the whole infrastructure. So if you have 10 servers, 15 servers, multi-platform hybrid, it still dumps them all out. It's what Hyperion thinks your system has attached to it. So if you run this thing and you keep it and you see how they actually are all time date stamped as well, you can have a historical picture of your infrastructure. We've actually caught customers in the past who've accidentally run a configuration tool, broke something, we didn't touch it. We want a report, we can go in there and find out, hey, you know what? Down below in the report, you logged on with maybe your MSAD account, which we would see at the bottom, okay? who logged in and configured something. Hey, who's, Frank so-and-so, okay? And were they in here on March 14th, okay? So these reports, again, tools are all built into the system. So I'm gonna kind of fast show you that one, because that one to me is a very, very critical troubleshooting piece here, okay? So jumping right ahead, you want to talk about logs for a minute, or do you? Yeah, logs, there's tons of them. 200, as I mentioned. There's a utility called log analysis, which if we have time, I'll loop back and show you guys. It's newer for 11.1.2. 2 is when it came out. 3 is when it got useful. 4 is very good. There's a log analysis tool built in, actually allows you to run HTML reports and compile your logs, which you can search on keywords, messages. They call them ECIDs now, transactional logs. That's usually about a half-day session right there by itself. But what we'll do is we'll run through the PowerPoints, the topics, and then we'll loop back around at the end if we have time, and I'll show you how that tool works. But it's called log analysis. There are 2 major places for logs in a system: within your domain, WebLogic, and within the actual software itself under these instances. Okay? Any giveaway? Okay. All right. All right. Okay. So we'll come back to that one. All right. Why don't you jump in? Man, we got a lot of content here. What were we thinking for an hour? Okay. All right. We're going to skip some of this stuff and come back over so you can get into the stability stuff. All right. Actually, why don't you talk to that for a minute first? Microphone?
So I want to talk a little bit about technical performance. Assessing your performance, benchmarking. How many here would you say have encountered performance issues at one point or another?
Got to use that.
Can you guys hear me better now? Okay. So at one point, probably half of you have run into some type of performance issues where you have to do performance tuning or patches or something to address it. Another question, how many here are on one of the later versions like 11.1.2.3 or 11.1.2.4? Do you find that since you're moving to the later versions, performance is getting better? Okay.
Wait, add-on question. How many are looking to upgrade? Who are on right now? Okay.
And part of that is because Oracle is making performance improvements in each version, and the other part is, each version requires more hardware, basically, more RAM, more processing power, etc. Let's go across here. Okay. The best thing to do when you're doing performance testing, I know after we go in, we do an implementation, we build a couple of different, basic applications to test to make sure things are running. And then, there's other tools that you could use, such as Load Runner. Have any of you ever used Load Runner? Okay, that's actually a good utility. But to me, and Joe will tell you also, the best way to do it is get your applications built, get your users on there, excuse my language, beating the crap out of it to make sure it's going to perform, like you want it to, especially during, say, a close or an end of quarter. That's the best way.
Are there any load tools you would recommend?
Load Runner's good, but it's not cheap. So if you want a cost-effective one, get your application on there, get 5 or 10 users to go through there, say their monthly close process. And I'll keep a real simple example. Let's just say, you use an FDM to load your data into HFM, then consolidate, users are printing reports and books, get 5 or 10 users to load their data through FDM. Do it numerous times, 9 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock. That way it also tests the network to make sure, are there any, bandwidth limitations any time during the day? Are the servers slower at any time during the day? Run the consolidations 3 or 4 times a day. Have users print reports a couple of times a day. And also, since most users tend to use, SmartView spreadsheets, have 20 users going in, build big, large spreadsheets, refresh. How is the refresh time? And one of the things, that performance tuning is going to, be needed to be done, you're going to have to kind of beat on it. You're going to make a tweak here. Okay, well, say in HFM, we need to make a registry setting for more records into memory. Okay, we did that. We recycled the service. Is the consolidation faster? Are my reports faster? Is SmartView refreshing? Same with S-Base. If you're using S-Base or planning, you may have to make some tweaks, performance tunings, test. There's really no cost. You're paying your employees anyway to do that.
To that point, and Mike's point too, the Load Runner is a fantastic tool. It's not cheap. However, Load Runner actually recently offered up an eval version, up to 50 users simultaneous current testing. Okay? So if you have extras in-house and you want to dabble with it and check it out first, It's not bad. You can look at it, play around with it. And there's 15 different companies that actually sell tools. A couple more upstairs or down the hall actually, which are very, very good. My big thing is, and I put this in here intentionally 1 second, is this, this last point. It's okay to go ahead and pay somebody to help you do benchmarking your system. My suggestion is before you invest $1 or a dime, is figure out what you want to test first, okay? Not how to do it, that's not important. What do you want to test? What do you want to benchmark? What's important to you guys? People say, I want to see, what does it break? How many users will break my system? What does that mean? Logging in? Does it mean running a report? Does it mean, doing aggregation? Does it mean smart retrieve? Figure that stuff out first. Have that lined up before you even talk to the vendors about benchmarking. Otherwise, you're going to be paying them for a POC, plus paying them for software afterward. Okay? In-house is fantastic with the skill sets because they're very hard to find. But get to the point where you have information lined up ahead of time first before you go ahead and engage these firms to come in there and show you their tools. And this way, it's more productive for you and for them with the process.
Or you're doing a manual, so that with 10 users or whatever. What's a good concurrency benchmark? Something like a flow process or a budget process in terms of, is it 10 to 1, is it 20 to 1, 5 to 1?
It's going to be, depends who you ask.
You
really can't assign a generic metric to it. The Oracle Performance Engineering team, or the SEAL team they call themselves now, as opposed to SWAT team, there's a tuning guide we'll show you later on, which they put a whole bunch of metrics in there, which they've encountered in their experiences. That could be a place to start and looking for ideas.
And the thing is, every client's environment is going to be different. Every application is going to be different. I'd be lying to you, if I haven't heard hundreds of times, well, my consolidation's taking an hour, but my friend works for, ABC company, their consolidation takes 12 minutes. Guarantee the applications are not the same, the servers aren't set up the same, so it's always going to be different. It's, more or less, I hate to say, as long as your CFO, CIO, and the end users are happy with performance, it's good enough. But I can tell you almost every single environment needs to be tuned. I mean, I've been doing it, Joe's been doing it, we've been doing it way back since, we had hair and it was dark. So kind of seen it all.
Plus, when everyone's working towards a deadline, when you're doing a close or a budget deadline or something, you kind of have to cheat towards your deadline, right?
Yes. I mean, I always tell clients, after we're done with an implementation, to test it, set aside a week for testing. One full week where they're not devoted to something else. They need to beat on it for a week to make sure, because, Murphy's Law is going to happen. You're going to be in the end of the month close, end of the year close, and they're going to complain, oh, it's slow. Well, we didn't know about it. Well, did you test it beforehand?
And the human factor is a huge piece of this. As Mike stressed, automation testing is great to find thresholds. I could break a server with one user. I don't need to have HFM background, I can do it myself, right? It's what's reality. Smart view, logins, workspace, HFM consolidations, all at once. So even those small things, again, finding small problems, back to those health checks, do it once a week, a simple task list. Sorry.
Okay. And again, there's ways to monitor it. I'm going to try to run through this quick so we can get, plenty of time for Q&A. But we have a couple little utilities that we use, to kind of help monitor the system. One of them is called, a task manager utility. Basically, it allows you to kind of monitor the different tasks. If you ever go on the server, you right-click, go to Task Manager, you'll see the different Hyperion processes, such as, the sbase.exe or the EAS process, how much memory, how much CPU it's being used. It's a customized utility. It allows you to kind of kill a process. Here's kind of a quick screenshot what it does. It's an XML file you can customize. It'll show you the server name, the process description, CPU usage, memory, and the ability to basically end a process. So, I mean, I'm going to be honest, quick show of hands. How many times have you guys had an issue with the system and usually 95% of the time you recycle the services, it fixes it, right? Okay. But have you ever used HFM? If you're using HFM, for example, 11.1, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, you still got those orphan processes, like HSV data source, the cache security, that when you stop services, it doesn't kill the processes. Okay, you can pop that into the little utility and from your desktop. Again, as long as you have admin rights to the server, you kill those processes and it just makes it a little easier.
So you don't have to educate the folks who are maintaining the servers for you. So listen, go in here. If we say recycle services, here's the list now. And look for these processes as well. They're out there, kill them for us. It's part of that routine.
Okay. Another one, like I just kind of gave you the prelude, services. Like I said, 95% of the time you're having an issue, you recycle the services, that fixes it. Got another utility called Service Monitor. Again, it's a little customizable utility. You pop the server name, and the process in there into the XML file. It comes up, shows you the server name, the service, the status, where you can see, you know, running or stop, the ability to stop and start each service, and the ability to stop and start all the services. Again, if an IT administrator, or say the SBase or HFM administrator is the one who kind of oversees that, you can put this on their desktop once a week. If you're doing maintenance, boom, you click the stop button, stop all, click the start all, recycles all the services for you. Or if you're just having a problem, again, you come in and you say, wow, you know, FDM doesn't seem to be working today, I can't load my data. You bring up the little monitoring utility, you see the FDM service is down, you click the start button, you're right back in business.
You can kind of skip over.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're short on time, so.
Okay. One quick thing here about stop and starting the services. You also have the ability on each of the servers by instance to stop and start each of the services. You know, you can go to the Oracle EPM, you know, the stop start scripts there. It's under, you know, you click your start button, Oracle EPM, I think it's under Foundation, and you have, you know, the stop and start EPM. Or if you're using it, you know, on Linux or Unix, you know, you have the .sh.
Yeah, in a Linux world too, I put a note in there. There's typically in a Linux or Unix world leftover living processes. Even after you run, you may see these big old nasty Java strings out there across the board. So I normally put a little kill line in any of my scripts that I go through. That if I do happen to run the stop script for Linux or Unix, you can see the bottom there too. Just do a fast search on the service account or process ID and pluck them all out. If there's Java in there, just whack them all. And that usually helps you guys out dramatically. Again, because IT will go out there to say, sure, we reset it for you. But they didn't look and see what's running once it was shut down, as Mike mentioned, which is normally a lot of problems. SBase hung. I ran a stop script. Okay, it's back up again for you. Well, no, I had a crash cube or a bad application. Okay, that was hung. Okay. Sorry.
Real quick, out of the box, Hyperion is going to run slow. I'm not going to lie to you. In 11.1.2.4, it's a little better because it kind of sets the heap sizes a little higher. But out of the box, it's going to be slow. You're going to have to do performance tuning, whether it's, you know, changing some IIS settings, changing some Java heap sizes, to tweaks in the database, to any. So we kind of just give you a couple of suggestions here. You know, tune the operating system parameters, you know, the Java heap sizes. Again, out of the box, I think like with 11.1.2.4, it'll set it to like 4096, but there's been some clients, I'll be honest, like with FDME, I don't know if anyone uses FDME, I've had to set the heap sizes to like 16 gig just to get it working, because it's just a beast. You can set compression, you know, you have SBase. If you go into SBase, you have your SBase.cfg, you got different settings that can be tweaked as it's applicable to, you know, your applications or your environment. You know, some of the ADF parameters.
Hold on a second. There's one thing I want to, well, fast question. So what's the biggest server resource that we consume Hyperion? I mean, it's just no better memory, right? We're all Java. It's 90% Java built today, the software stack. Java loves memory, okay? Oracle's also a hardware company, I heard now, okay? So, and they sell these big boxes, lots of memory in them intentionally. So they're not doing us favors. And I can say they because I used to work there, I'm okay saying that. It's fantastic software, but they're taking advantage of the resources available in the industry today. The problem is, in-house, you may not have the ability to go buy, you know, a terabyte of memory for your Java application server. So it's very, very critical, as Mike said, to make sure you're tuning the infrastructure. You're tuning it to the point where, you know, Oracle's baseline says, hey, the minimum we tell you have to turn these things on is A, B, C, and D. In the installation guides and configuration deployment option guides, there's charts in there that tells you if you have foundation services, shared services, you need 2 GB RAM. If you have HFM, you need 6 GB RAM. I mean, they listed it out by product just to get the software turned on what you need to have. Now, it's a lot of reading, okay? Oracle produces this document called the Epm System Tuning Guide. Now, this used to be, when we used to work there, an internal-only document. This document, and again, you can tell we're engineers, not sales guys here, this document literally will take you through what you would go out and spend from an Oracle services representative, probably 2 to 3 weeks of tuning your environment. It goes through step by step all the base parameters you should be putting in place before you even turn the environment on for the first time. And we actually use this, if I can find it here. I'm just not seeing it right now. Tuning guide, oh. Sorry. We use this document as basically as kind of the, I'm sorry guys, I just can't find my doctor right now. as the base guide, if you want to call it that, for how we base our tuning engagement. So in there it tells you memory, you got to have 4 gigabytes for a heap, okay? You can grab it online. It's produced by the performance engineering team. They update it every year-ish, give or take. It's a good place to start your system tuning. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yep.
You mentioned HTTP tuning there. Which web server? Across all the web servers provide?
All of them. So there's actually information you can tune HTTP server OHS, which is their homegrown Apache version. IIS is in there as well. If you're using WebSphere as your application server, I won't cringe, but if you do, even IBM, HTTP server as well. So in there, there's different things you can do. They have this thing called compression. HTTP compression is a fantastic option for you if the bulk of your users are WAN-based. If you're LAN-based, you're not going to probably get your return on it. But there actually are metrics in that same tuning guide saying, hey, here's compression on for IIS HTTP server, and here's it off, here's how to compare, okay? It's clear as mud. Like everything else, it's a document, it's a long 100+ page document. It gets you the good touching points of where to start with the infrastructure and tuning though. It's all in there. So the scenarios, it's interesting. So HTTP compression, it sounds like a great idea. What that means is I'm a user over here, my servers are over there, right? I go in a browser, I pull up Workspace or HFM Grid or something like that, okay? The information's, of course, it's compressed to some extent because it's the internet, HTTP protocol. What compression does, it actually, on the server side of it's enabled, and the content being sent back to the user is compressed first and decompressed client side. So you're basically saving bandwidth. So hence performance increases. It's more server work, more load on the servers themselves, where the compression is enabled. But your return on investment is, if you have WAN-based users, VPN is iffy, but if you have a lot of WAN-based users, a lot of remote geos and things, you'll see a dramatic improvement in performance. I mean, 10, 20, 30, 40% easily increased performance by enabling that. But it's more of a hit on the server side. And they actually have a disclaimer in there saying this is ideal for WAN-based users, not LAN-based users, which is interesting. They've called that out as a note.
I'm going to touch on patching really quick, maybe 30 seconds.
That's all it takes.
Oracle puts out patches for the products all the time. The one thing I'm going to say, keep up with it. The biggest thing is look at the README notes. Anyone who's in here, and I know there's a few who are infrastructure consultants, I always tell the clients, Joe, don't patch just to patch. Not like, Microsoft that puts out a patch every day. And I'll be 100% honest with you, look at the README notes, because the patch may fix an issue, but it may break something else. So when you look at the README, it's going to say it fixes these defects, and then right below it, it's going to say known defects. So you may have a problem, with the report and how it previews, and this patch will fix this, but then it'll cause a bigger problem for you. So again, don't patch just to patch. Every quarter, take a look at it. But the biggest thing is, if you encounter an issue, call it into Oracle support, let them confirm with you, yep, this is fixed in this patch. Test it in a test environment first, just to make sure it's going to fix your issue and not break something else.
And we put in here the methodology we use for patching. So you can skim through it afterward and stuff, and it goes through the high level stuff, what we do, what we go through. If you have questions, again, just let us know.
Do you want to talk about this?
No, skip through it because we're running out of time. So I want to make sure we get to.
Okay. Real quick, Joe talked about a little bit about backup and recovery.
Yeah, so backup recovery, and again, really fast here because there's better stuff in this to discuss, but backup recovery, the big thing to point out in backup recovery is there's two kinds, right? There's what I call the backup recovery every day. I'm working in a system and I screw up my web form because I'm Joe and I shouldn't be anyway because I'm an IT guy, right? Having the ability to do quick backup or quick recovery of your application artifacts. There's tools like LCM, lifecycle management, and depending upon what you're working with, it's S-based, maybe it's a calc script here and there. The key thing is do regularly based scheduled backups of your infrastructure. And if you're going to make a major change to something application side, back it up first, okay? Which is like, wow, it's a lot of work. I modify the application daily. Well, that's why first off, you should have dev environments and test environments. I can't stand hearing, oh, my production is also my dev. I have a new cube or new application there. I don't know why that happens in this world, but do stuff in a multi-tier environment where you can propagate your changes up properly. And the key thing is for any backup recovery, do the artifact backups as often as you can possibly do it. And some of these tools like LCM can be scheduled command line based. They can run once a night and you can extract out your entire system to sort of flat files, okay? That's the backup recovery. DR we won't even talk about because we need a lot more time than we have today for that. But in DR world, what I want to point out there is if you don't have a DR plan, I don't care how big or small you are, you should get one. Unless Hyperion's a system which could be gone for a week or 2 or 3, okay? It's different conversation altogether, but basically a DR program or plan is different than backup recovery. That's a very, very big distinction. There also is a published backup recovery guide, which if you haven't read, you should get it and read it. And I'm big as you can tell about saying, hey, this guide exists, this guide exists, this guide exists. I'll never say read the install doc, it's 400 pages. But I will say read troubleshooting guide, read the backup recovery guide, read the tuning guides, because the work went into those things to make them worthwhile. And at least it's a good foundation, so when you talk to consultants later on, you have a clue what you're talking about before you get there. We're gonna have to skip troubleshooting.
Yeah.
Because
Rather do Q&A, we can talk about troubleshooting.
yeah, well, I want to mention the architecture stuff really quick here. Hold on. All right. The troubleshooting section was really just kind of outlining what we do, our methodology for troubleshooting an issue. It's pretty self-explanatory if you read the slides there. Okay, so we're almost out of time here. I'm for some Q&A time. Design of the EPM infrastructure, okay? This is a lot of our work. You know, I gave myself the title architect. My company's IARC Solutions. It's kind of a play on words. No one gets it though. So the big thing about infrastructure design is, and this could be for a current system, it could be something you're upgrading, thinking about the future, maybe an upgraded version, maybe expansion. The key thing is to gather the information, okay? What I normally do when I begin the process is I start with an actual survey. If it's a new customer or a current customer, I give them a questionnaire. And it doesn't have to be this formalized, crazy, fancy thing. Really what you want to get is something that just has a lot of information in it, a lot of bullet points. Start with things like, what kind of components you're going to use? I use this, I use Essbase. Well, with Essbase, do you use Essbase Studio? Do you need EIS still? Do you want to use that spreadsheet add-in, which is gone? You know, go through everything that you can think of with a Hyperion perspective and outline it and check it off. And then go into things like user counts. I want to know total and concurrent. Because building an architecture, the total is important to me. What's more important is concurrency, okay? And here's a fast question. What's the industry accepted rule of thumb for concurrency? I have 1,000 users. What's my percentage I should look at for concurrent users? Anybody? 100? No. 110%? No. 20%. So when a customer says, hey, I got 1,000 users, I have 500 concurrent users, I say, okay, now let's start talking about reality. That means 500 simultaneous clicks, okay, of the same thing. And that's not how it works, right? Because you can't get probably 10 people. I got 2 kids, I can't have them both at the same time, you know? So to get 100 adults at the same time to push go at one time for the same application or thing, it's not typically the case. So 20% is a good number, which means do you want to go liberal? Go 30% concurrency and plan for that, okay? But do this survey and ask all these questions about concurrency. How many users? Is HA a requirement? All these different parts and pieces. List it out first. And you can do this even before you talk to consultants, and more importantly, before you talk to your internal server sizing team who don't understand Hyperion. It's a good prerequisite information you want to have your hands on. Okay? So as you're building your architecture, there are a lot of things to consider and things to watch out for. You've got to have, you know, its high availability requirement, its security requirement, SSL. Okay, so you want to go through all these design considerations. Always consider multiple environments, right? Prod's fantastic, but do I want to have a dev and UAT? My suggestion is yes. You always want to have at least a secondary environment. I don't care how big or small you are, a second one's always good, okay? And then you want to do what's called, what I call as basically building a software architecture diagram. Build a diagram that just lists out, okay, a box. And on this box, I'm going to have this software. And if I have 100 users concurrent, I got to have maybe 2 of these boxes, and here's the software. Okay, these don't have to be super complicated. I love it in my industry because I have some counterparts in different firms that are all good friends of mine, so I can say that, right? They're good buddies of mine, and they build these amazing diagrams. And as I look at these diagrams, I'm like, wow, they are just complicating these things to no end. And they do it because it does look very good, right? If you take a look at, if I can zoom in here, you can see it. Zoom in. This is the kind of information you want to get. I'll zoom in some more so that even I can see it. You want to list out box by box. I'm going to have a foundation box and these products on it, right? I'm going to have an RA box and these products on it, an SPS box, these products on it. Just lay it up a box. This is what we build off of. We don't need to have fancy lines on spreadsheets, right, or visual diagrams. It's literally almost, box one has this software, and this becomes a living, breathing document. So as you use your infrastructure over time, you're calling support for a question. Hey, it's in front of you. Yeah, I got the foundation on 2 boxes. Well, what's included in foundation? Calculation manager. It's here and here. Okay, or planning here and here. Okay, so this is kind of the software diagram. List it out. Add to it. I always give my customers a Visio, these things that I create, because I'm like, listen, it's yours. You own this thing. So take it and you modify and add your custom stuff, add your IPs and your firewall information. I don't care. As complicated as you want, but you don't have to overly complicate the system. And unfortunately, we are out of time, so let's do Q&A. Yeah.
All right, now we'll open up the floor for questions, anything you may have. Feel free to ask. If we don't know, we'll...
If not, we have questions. Any questions?
With the JVM tuning, do you guys use any kind of like trend analysis tool that captures data over time?
Yes, and I couldn't show that because we're out of time. There's built-in tools. WebLogic Enterprise Manager, you can use grid control. There are built-in tools in the system that actually you can run, have them monitor and make in the background. You can see Java Heap uses over time. You can use Flat Recorder as well and set up things. So there's out-of-the-box stuff which are relatively open source. You can configure yourself if you want to, or you can use, there's a gazillion third-party tools as well.
Sir.
What's your guys' opinion on JVM tuning using vertically scaled smaller JVMs versus huge heap size?
I'm a big fan of trying to limit the heap size. That being said, this new 11124, 4 gigabytes, is the lowest heap you should ever allocate to any tool. Below that, you'll have performance problems. But as Mike said, FDMEE could be easily 16. Planning could be easily 12 to 16. Okay, very easily. And you can, this new version, vertically scale the system as well with instances, which I couldn't also discuss from time, I'm sorry. Yep. Oh, sorry, sorry. I'm sorry, one time? Oh, VMware versus physical. This is a great conversation I had to blow over because of time. So here's a rule of thumb, my experience is, you can virtualize anything now. But if you're going to virtualize it and think you're going to be sharing and skimping on hardware, don't do it. So if we say give us 60 gigabytes of RAM for this one process, which means 32 total for this one server, you better allocate, not share, allocate that much memory on this box. If you don't do that, you're rolling dice to see how good your shop is with virtualization. So I love virtualization technology. Sometimes, you know, we have customers that physical's the way to go. For S-Space maybe, or consolidation servers, whatever. Depends. But in this day and age, it's not like it was 4 years ago. Question?
I wanted to add to users with regards to the JVM tuning. It's not a one-time thing,
Yeah.
right? You have to actually find that sweet spot. If you do it too low, the performance will be really slow. If you bump up the JVMs too high, it'll also go really slow because there's what's called garbage collection within WebLogic.
Yep.
So you actually have to tune it, go high, and then go lower, start going lower until you find that spot where it's
The sweet spot. Yep. It's the point of no return. Yep. Where are you getting it back? Thank you, John. Any questions? All right. It's really fast. 2 minutes for giveaways here. All right. Here we go. So let's see how old your Hyperion knowledge is. We got IMRS already. All right. What did IMRS stand for? And if you go enterprise, you can't talk. Okay. Nothing? No, that's not true. It actually stood for something. It didn't say it was great. It did. It actually stood for Information Management Reporting Services. Yep. You know how I found that out? And I used to work, I had to Google it. Okay. All right, that one is giveaway. All right. All right, here we go. First product mentioned right too. Oh, where was the original headquarters of Hyperion? Stanford. There we go. What do you want? Here you go. You got it? That, exactly. Yep. So you remember. You remember. What does S-Space stand for? Oh, I saw a hand though. Wait a minute, I saw a hand. Oh, you know what? Here, you both get it. All right, there you go. Because we're running out of time, so. There you go. That's this down. All right. Oh, here we go. Which Marvel comic character did Hyperion license? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, who was that? Was over here? All right.
How many of you guys actually use Spider-Man?
We tried.
You tried? How about this? Who was the global Spider-Man technical support lead? Hyperion. That was me. See? That was me. And who did I train? Dario over here. All right, what else do we have here? Oh, wait. What's the greatest football team of all time? The Giants. Hello, it's the Giants. You all lost that one. All right. What else we have? Anything else you're going to ask them? A couple more prizes too. Any questions you guys have?
If you have questions, we have our cards up here, email.
Yes.
Always feel free to send us a note if you want more information, presentation, if we can help you. Even simple questions, most likely we've probably seen it or experienced it. If not, we can put you in touch with those who have.
Yes, and that's good too. For the presentation, I uploaded this a week or so ago. This is actually a revised version, literally as of last night, because I thought of more stuff, and tons of content in here. So leave me a business card or grab one either way, and I can shoot over to you along with all the documents as well, the spreadsheets and add-ons to you guys too. So, hey, thank you very much.